Hi, my sweet lifers. It's Alisa Murray here. Hope you guys are having a beautiful start to a sweet, sweet week. I'm hanging out today with my dear friend Sheila Hazley. She is Satavia Hazley's aunt. And you guys know that we've been working on our book, talking to all of the authors, the co-authors on Journeys of Goodbye. She's in this book. I'm in this book. And we're excited about our event we're having in November about this book and for this book. And all the details about that will be in the episode notes. But I wanted to thank you today for hanging out with me and being a part of this project.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Yeah. So tell me all about your experience in terms of how you ended up in here, other than the fact that you're Satavia's aunt. I got wrangled because I'm her artist, and you know I've been her artist for a long, long time. How'd you get wrangled in?
I think I probably got wrangled in the same way you did. She just asked me if I wanted to share my story. It was part of my healing process. I lost my mother in 2020, and not a day goes by that I don't think about her. And I think writing it and putting it down in word helped more for the healing process for me, specifically.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting because when I was going through some psychology classes at U of H way back in the day, and I was like early 20s, and Mom got killed when I was 8. That was really helpful too. Like way back then, we had to write stuff, and I remember writing papers, and it does have a very is the word cathartic? Is that the right word? It's very helpful to kind of work through.
It's very helpful to put your thoughts down on paper and to be able to share that with somebody else that may be experiencing the same thing.
And what I found out whenever I was reading the book, so many of these stories are similar.
Yes.
There's a lot of similarities in terms of like people. There's a group of people that have the suicide situation, people who have the dementia situation, people who have the sudden death situation, and they're all with different walks through that, but a lot of the similarities in terms of how they dealt with the grieving.
Right. Well, with my mom was diagnosed with dementia in 2010, and that's when I started the grieving process. Because the mother that I knew was not the mother that I had. And I went to therapy because I couldn't understand. My mother was fairly young, when she was diagnosed. She was only 70, and my mother was my best friend. She was my greatest supporter. She always encouraged me. She made so many sacrifices for our family, and I just couldn't understand why my mama.
Right.
Why my mama, why she had to experience this, why am I having to go through this? I don't have any sisters. I have
You got two brothers.
I have two brothers, but I don't have any sisters. And my brothers have a conflictual relationship, and so I'm kind of in the middle trying to find my way. My mother had one sibling, but my mother's sibling died at a young age. So pretty much she was like an only child. So all of my aunts and uncles, everybody was gone. My mother didn't have any siblings, so I didn't have aunties and uncles. I had aunties and uncles on my dad's side, but not on my mom's side. So my relationship with my mother was very strong, and it was like we were best friends. We always talked to each other every day, 2 or 3 times a day, even though we didn't live together. So not to have that was very difficult for me, and so I started therapy. And one of the things that the therapist told me, the mother that you had may be gone, but you still have a mother. And so therefore you have to just pour into her as if she's still your mother. Don't pull back, out of not understanding what she's going through. And so that was very, very difficult for me. So the grieving process started back then, losing that relationship, that friendship that I had with my mother to become her caregiver was very, very different and very hard for me.
One thing that sort of stood out whenever I read your story, and it's a little bit, it's not similar, but it's a little bit similar. So, and I haven't shared, this will be a nice surprise, not a nice surprise, but it'll be a surprise to somebody. I'll go, aha, that all of you guys that followed me for years. When Mother was killed, I was 8, and I looked just like my mother. I mean, like identical to my mother, like crazy, scary, identical to my mother. Talk like her, act like her, mannerisms like her. Her best friends would like burst into tears as I would grow up. Because the more I grew up, the more I looked like she did when she was their friend. And so my grandparents were having a really hard time grieving her death. And for whatever reason, they had saved everything of hers. So as Mother would like finish high school, they boxed up Mother's high school clothes. So as I started high school, they put me in Mother's high school clothes. And my mother's name was Lona Ann, and they named me Lona Alisa. And so they stopped calling me Alisa. They started calling me Little Lona Ann. And so they literally dressed me in her clothes and called me her name throughout, all through, like middle school, high school. And then Brian and I got married. And Big Daddy, Granny had hid from the family that Big Daddy had dementia. She didn't tell anybody.
Oh, wow.
And so when we got married, the family went to the mountain house because my grandparents had a house in Rocky Mount, and then they had a house in Boone, near Boone, North Carolina, up in Todd. And the family, because we were all gathered together for the wedding, some of the family that hadn't seen each other went to the mountain house. And they realized as he was wandering around the house in the middle of the night that something was not right with Big Daddy. We called him Big Daddy. He was like 400 pounds when the first grandson was born, and little Jimmy, who's named after him, said, Big Daddy.
Oh,
and so that's why he was never Granddaddy. He was always Big Daddy. But so Big Daddy was like, he had it for a long time, but Granny had somehow managed to keep people from knowing. She'd actually fallen in the kitchen and broken her arm and had not gone to the doctor and was caring for him and just trying to keep it a secret. And so eventually, obviously, they discovered it. And they took him and they had to put him in one of those homes where they have like somebody that takes care. You can't have a kitchen because you can set the place on fire. And then they had them in like an assisted living in one floor. And then he got to the point where he was like walking around asking women to marry him and giving his wedding bands away and going down and drinking the alcohol when they had like a little event. And he was a die-hard Pentecostal Southern Baptist, no drinking, no dancing, no swearing, no nothing. So his whole personality flipped. But the thing that really stood out to me is Brian and I would come visit. And when we would come visit, he had completely forgotten that I had ever been born. He had automatically turned me into my mother. Brian was my daddy. And he would stand at that door and he would beg me to take him out of there.
Oh, wow.
He would say, Lona Ann, why are you letting me stay here? And why are you here? And it would break my heart. And whenever, I read that part in your story about, your mama looked at you and she was calling you different people and didn't recognize that you were her daughter. And I thought, man, do I really resonate with that experience that you had, because I knew in my mind that they had not grieved properly my mother's death. Obviously dressing their grandchild up and calling her by her name and trying to completely pretend like she didn't die was not good. And I don't even begin to venture what that did to me psychologically. I'm probably still dealing with it with some midnight dream somewhere. You know what I mean? Because I'm okay during the daytime and I'm fine at night, but I know that did damage, right? It had to have, because there's no way it couldn't have. But that moment where he had that at that point, I was like, I'm looking at this person who's my grandfather, who I absolutely adore and was willing to dress up like and be whoever he needed me to be because I loved him that much. But him calling me her name at that point and mad at me because I wasn't taking him out of there was really upsetting. And I didn't deal with that very well. I think the very first time that after he passed away, I remember digging a hole in my ankle. I scratched my ankle to the point where I dug a hole through it. And my daddy saw me because he was also a doctor who was living at the time. And he's like, that's PTSD. Like your response to Big Daddy dying was you dug a hole in your leg. Like you just dug till there was like a hole there and you had to have, got infected and had to be whatever. But like, you don't know how you're going to respond to stuff like that.
No, you don't. Nope.
And it just, that really resonated with me, your story, above and beyond anything else that was in there, because I was like, man, I remember that moment.
And it was terrifying for me because that was the first time she had did that. And she was across the house. I mean, I was on one side and she was on the other side. And I could hear her say, Sheila, Sheila, Sheila. She hadn't called me Sheila in I don't know when. It was so scary for me. And at that moment, I knew something was happening. I didn't know what it was, but I had this feeling that something was happening. And I sent a text message to my family. I think it was like 10:48 at night. You all need to get here the next day. I said, you all need to come. She wants to see her kids. I didn't sleep well that night because I know something was different. I didn't know what it was, but I knew something was different. That next morning was the morning that she was hard to arouse, and we had to take her back to the hospital. And then she started declining.
Yeah. And your experience, you had hospice, you did?
Yes.
Yeah. And that's the other thing that's been the aha moment for me with this experience of being a co-writer with you guys. You know, I didn't realize that you could apply for hospice when you're first diagnosed.
No.
I didn't realize that came with a chaplain. I talked to Trudy. I'm even thinking about taking the CPE classes and becoming a chaplain and doing pastoral care with hospice. I mean, that's a door that's opened up for me through this experience. Because she was like, man, you'd be great at that. And I'm like, yeah, it sounds like something I'd really like to do.
Right.
You know, because of my work with kids with cancer and mom and dads that have lost children and mothers with cancer. And I mean, I'm called to be in that capacity. And I feel like because of mother getting killed, my dad dying, and me being around death, death's not scary to me. I kind of get what's going on, like better than most. Because some people come and they're like mourning and screaming and crying. And I'm like, we're all going to die.
Yes, we all going to die.
We're all going to die.
Yeah, we are.
People don't like to talk about that, but we are all going to go.
We know we're going to go, but we're just not ready.
Right.
I don't think I was ready. I didn't think I didn't ever think I would be living without my mom. I don't know. I just never thought that was going to happen. But I know that it's going to happen to all of us. We're just not ready. So part of it is preparing ourselves for that. I think once we did receive hospice services, things lightened up a little bit. At first it was just, oh wow, what are we going to do? But talking to the chaplain, talking to the social worker, making sure we had everything in order that we need to have in order, and the support that we got along the way. It was shocking to me that the nurse knew when the time was, because the nurse said, I think you all need to come. I think it's time. It was time. I mean, it was in a matter of minutes after she told us that we got to see my mom take her last breath. And it was shocking to me that she knew it was time, you know, because we wouldn't have known.
Right.
We were in another room. We were talking and, you know, preparing things. And she says, I think you all need to come. It's time. And at that moment, it was to see her take her last breath. She didn't struggle. She was at peace. And that felt good because she was dressed in her own clothes, in a bed with linens and stuff that belonged to her, not in a hospital bed, not hooked up to tubes and all this, and not with strangers around. She was surrounded by family, so that brought a lot of peace.
Yeah, and I think that's like the perfect death, right? You know, if we all have to go, and having it be with your bed and your linens and your family and your space, and not the sterile, stinky environment of a hospital and all of that.
And having to leave her there. Being at a hospital, having to leave her there. She was at home with us. And everything happened so fast after that. It was just like, once she took the last breath, the hospice knew exactly what to do, and everything just happened so quickly. We didn't have to make decisions. It was like everything was taken care of for us, which made the process a lot easier for us.
You know, it's interesting. It just popped in my mind. Your mother was a nurse, daddy was a doctor, and they delivered babies. And you know, when you're in L&D, and I've been in many L&Ds as the photographer, which sounds crazy. Some of y'all are like rolling your eyes. I mean, yes, there are people that want me to photograph birth. And it's the most amazing thing to watch. And I would imagine that in a lot of ways, being there for the death is the same way. The nurses know when the contractions are coming, when the baby's coming. They know the timing of this and what's going to happen next, and they can guarantee almost to the T, depending on how experienced they are, what the next things are going to be that happen. And that's why that nurse knew to call you guys in there, because of her experience, and she knew, okay, this is exactly what's going on. And, you know, we need to get in here and say goodbye.
I just read something on social media last week. It says, my mom was there for my first breath. My mom picked out my first outfit. My mom, what did it say? I was there when my mom took her last breath, and I chose her last outfit. And that circle of life that goes on with that process is so true.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's great. It's great if you can see it as great.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we talked about that multiple times on the channel, not just for this project,
Mm-hmm.
but in other respects as well. You know, we
Mm-hmm.
get so excited about babies being born,
Mm-hmm.
and we don't get so excited about people dying. But when you think about when we know as Christians
Mm-hmm.
that they're going to get their new bodies
That's right.
and immortal bodies
That's right.
and perfect bodies,
That's right.
you know,
No more pain.
no,
No more pain. No more arthritis. No more confusion.
no,
At peace.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and hanging out.
Mm-hmm.
Doing God only knows whatever He's got cooked up for us to do. You know, it's not going to be sitting in a cloud playing a violin like some people tried to tell me at the Baptist church when I was a child. I promise you, the new heavens and the new earth is not sitting on a cloud with a violin.
Yeah.
It'll be something else more productive than that. But
Well,
I thought,
what I can imagine is that my mom and dad are up there dancing together. That's all I imagine. She loved to dance, and so I hope they're at peace and at happy, and they're dancing together.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they're not hungry, so you don't have to cook anything. And they don't have to worry about clothes anymore.
No.
It's like Adam and Eve all over again.
No.
So, in fact, my daughter and I were talking about that on the way here back to see you today.
Uh-huh.
We're talking about my dear friend's mother. We think may have had a stroke this afternoon.
Mm-hmm.
And so she's at the ICU in North Carolina right now and non-responsive. And so I'm going to check in with her after we get done today. But Victoria just bursted into tears. And I said, you need to start getting yourself ready, girlfriend. I said, I promise you, I ain't going to be here forever. And if you need to start getting it in your head that that's what's going to be the case, because, you know, we're all going to go. And I said, but you get the taste of that whenever we have a mark, we get cut. God has given us a body that heals. And at some point, that body is done healing. It's time to be moved on to the renewed body. And if you can think about it like that, and you believe that, you know that, then dying is a beautiful thing because you're moving home. And so,
one of the things that Satavia said when we were there for the last breath, she said she went to touch my mother, and my mother pulled back. And she said to her that was letting my mom saying, "Let me go." I didn't see it. She said, "You didn't see it?" No, I didn't see it. But she said she saw it. She went to touch her shoulder, and my mom pulled back. And in her mind, she was thinking, that's Mimi saying, "Let me go."
Yeah.
And I know I've talked to other people who had relatives that have been sick, that have lingered on and on and on. And one of my friends said that her aunt told her, you know, you keep praying that God heals me, and I keep praying for God to let me go. I need you to stop praying for God to heal me. I'm ready to go.
Yeah.
And sometimes people know when they're ready.
Yeah.
And so we have to be able to let them go, you know, because that's difficult for us, but we have to obey and try to honor their wishes.
Well, and know what the Lord's will is the Lord's will. I mean, I can't tell you how many countless people I've talked to, even in the process of this project, that, you know, we can do all we can do through hospice, but when God wants to take them, God's going to take them.
That's right. That's right.
It just is what it is.
That's right.
You know, and, you know, sometimes they get an opportunity to spend time saying goodbye. Sometimes they're like me. I said to my sister when Daddy dropped dead, I was like, what is going on? What is going on? If Mama just walks out the door and gets hit by the train, Daddy drops dead on his 64th birthday. Nobody says goodbye around here.
Wow.
What's the deal with that?
Wow.
You know, why do they think that's okay? But of course they didn't have any control over
Right,
it. But
right.
I said it and half joking to my sister because she doesn't take things as lightly as I do, right? You know, but I mean, at this point, life and death, the most important thing for me with my ministry and where I am at with my life is to make sure anybody that doesn't know Jesus Christ knows him, because I know what the scoop is if you do, and I know what the scoop is if you don't.
That's right.
And I've been called to make sure as many people that I have in my airspace understands, or at least the seed is planted about who he is and what he can do and what life's like after we're done here.
That's right.
So, and there's so much of that beautiful, strong faith that's in this book too, which I was really, really impressed with, is that almost every single person that's in this book are Christian, strong Christian, faith believing, Holy Spirit inspired, indwelt. You know what I mean?
That's
it's just
right.
Everybody on this couch pretty much, it's like they got it together with that. I'm like not hanging out with people that don't know the Lord, which is great.
Right.
So.
And I know that was something that my mother's caregiver said happened while she was in the hospital in ICU before she came home on the hospice service. is she asked her what's taking God so long. So I know my mom was ready.
Yeah.
You know, what's taking God so long? She was ready. We weren't ready, but she was ready.
But he gave you some time.
Yes, he did.
That's the blessing there.
Mm-hmm.
He knew what y'all needed,
Mm-hmm.
so he gave y'all the time to say goodbye.
Mm-hmm.
Even though some of those days were difficult, I'm sure.
Mm-hmm.
As I know mine were with Big Daddy. Those visits were not easy. So, but it is what it is. It's all good. I know where they are, and you do too.
That's right.
We know where they are. It's all good stuff.
And my mom's birthday was Sunday.
Oh.
So we got together as a family to celebrate because she was very big on family.
Yeah.
And you know, when the matriarch passes on, things change within the family.
They do.
And so Satavia has nominated me to be the matriarch because I'm the oldest female in the family. So it's a role that's hard to fill because my mother did such a great job, you know, but I tried to pull the family together that we celebrate her birthday. My mom would have been 85 years old Sunday.
Awesome.
Yes.
That's awesome.
Yes. And we miss her a lot.
Yeah.
But we know we're going to see her again.
Yeah, that's the thing.
That's the only thing that matters.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right.
Uh-huh.
That's what I try to tell everybody whenever they are grieving is that this too shall pass, and the Holy Spirit will give you peace that will surpass understanding. And it's just as part of being on earth.
That's right.
Just part of the deal. So anyway,
and making sure we keep their memories alive.
Absolutely.
And because the younger kids, you know, Matt and DJ and my grandson Kyle, you know, they were young. DJ was just 1 year old, but we were showing him pictures of her on Sunday, making sure we keep those memories alive. And one of the things with writing that we are all doing now is trying to document our history so it's there for the kids when they get older because they won't have those memories that we have.
Well, and that's what I'm doing with this YouTube channel. Y'all know that. Winky face. So anyway, well, listen, I hope you guys have found some value in this, some nuggets here and some nuggets there, and a lot to share, that's for sure. I want to thank you for being here today.
Okay, thank you for having me.
Absolutely. If you did love this, please do us a favor and like and share. Don't forget to ring that bell, and we'll see you next time on another Living the Sweet Life. Stay sweet.